Welcome everyone to the Yissilmissil Productions channel. My name is Steven Yissil, and today, let's talk about it! I hope you're all doing well. 'Cause I sure am. I had a crazy week. It's been a very fast week. Here we are again already on Sunday. It's been it's been a real busy one. But we're here. And we have a few things to talk about today. I really wanted to frame the show around, are we really living in an artificial construct? There's been a lot of videos on my feeds that I scroll on social media talking about this stuff here and there. But really, it makes one think about how this is all put together. The latest reel that I saw, which was early this morning, was somebody talking about that the sky has hexagons and octagons, and that few people can see that. And most times it's under influence of substances, so it's a tough subject, very tough subject, but nothing chemical or artificial with the substances. It's what was it, psilocybin? People were seeing the hexagons. Very interesting stuff. But today I also have Ghost in the Shell. I was able to acquire an Italian language version of the manga, so we'll be able to browse through that briefly here on the screen. But we also have some viewer, one of our consistent viewers here, John. He tipped me off to one of the channels that both of us follow, Enter the Stars, and they were covering the movie Equilibrium just recently. And that's something that I almost touched upon last week, but I didn't feel like it fit what we were talking about for just time constraints. It didn't fit. But I think today we can briefly look at that, because that was also brought to my attention back when I was getting into the Matrix back in the early 2000s, before the sequels came out. I believe it was my first introduction to Christian Bale. And then not too long after that, it was American Psycho. I'm also noticing that my voice tends to go when I'm speaking about things that others don't want me to speak about. It happens at very key points, too. It's not my confidence. Just my throat gets choked up for some reason or another. It's very odd. But we'll be talking about Equilibrium today, too. So we'll be seeing a few panels from Ghost in the Shell. I believe we can look through some of the film stills. But I also wanted to mention that last week's live stream got hit with copyright by Warner Brothers. And I'm not sure that all of you know this, but New Line Cinema is a subsidiary of Warner Brothers. So they financed both Dark City and The Matrix. So they knew exactly what they were doing. Case closed. But Equilibrium also has a very interesting connection with The Matrix, because I know a few of my old friends were saying that Christian Bale would have made a better Neo, and I tend to agree. You have the very flat Keanu Reeves and his acting style. But Christian Bale has much more range. And yeah, I think we should watch the trailer to Equilibrium here just to start us off. So just give me a second here and I'll get that rolling. So this is the IMDb page. We'll be looking at this in a split screen here, because this is the only way we can properly critique this stuff without getting hit with anything. Alright. So this is Equilibrium. The trailer. It's just the trailer. It's for promotional purposes. Anybody watching that's trying to hit the channel, this footage we're about to watch is supposed to encourage people to go seek out the entire film. So, hopefully that's the case. But let's watch this thing. It's only a minute and 17 seconds. No audio. Can't do audio. Sorry about that. But right away, just the clothing style, the use of firearms. A lot of this really looks like cyberpunk inspiration. But Christian Bale plays like deadpan really well. More so than Keanu Reeves does. I think Keanu Reeves hams it up a bit from time to time. But I really think Keanu Reeves would have been more suited for comedic acting than dramatic. But there is a good handful of films that he's done that's good dramatic work, I guess. But he's always going to be Bill and Ted for me. Now, Christian Bale is, I don't know what I'd categorize him as. I mean, now he's recognized most as Batman. But, before all this, it was American Beauty. Or American Psycho. Gotta get that stuff out of my head. Alright, so that's that. The logline for this film is, in an oppressive future where all forms of feeling are illegal, a man in charge of enforcing the law rises to overthrow the system and state. Now, a really interesting connection here between American Psycho and Equilibrium is there's a scene in both films that either talk about or deal with a cat. In American Psycho, near the end of the film, he goes to an ATM and the ATM asks him, "Feed me a cat." And he starts looking around for a stray cat on the street. In Equilibrium, Christian Bale's character finds a cat, which, in the setting of the movie, you're not allowed to own pets or show feelings. And he comes across this cat in a box or something, and he takes it home with him, and then that encourages him to fight the system and overthrow it. and this came out in 2002. So you could technically say that there's inspiration from the Matrix franchise in this, especially from the first one, considering the time frame. Equilibrium 2002, The Matrix 1999. But there's a lot of symbology in the film. I do recommend to go check out Enter the Stars. I haven't watched Enter the Stars' video yet, but I know he does a really great job breaking down symbology and Easter eggs. So this is right up his field. And Enter the Stars was the first one to actually point out, in my recollection, to point out the use of telephone booths and its significance with copper and it being a conductor, and the way that phone booths are used in Hollywood cinema. So there's a lot going on there. And you even have, Bill and Ted has the phone booths. You have the Matrix that has the phone booths. Bill and Ted, you have two of them that pop up. And there's a 9/11 symbolism with that. And then you also have Back to the Future that has 9/11 symbolism everywhere. But, yeah, that's that. So I recommend those of you watching, if you haven't checked out Equilibrium, give it a shot. It's actually very well put together. It's a very clean looking presentation. So next we are going to check out Equilibrium, or Ghost in the Shell. We just did Equilibrium. Now, as I said earlier, this is an Italian language copy that I have here. There really wasn't much I could do about that. But we'll look at the visuals here. Again, this was released in 1989. Possibly worked on as early as 1987. But just a few images I wanted to show. You have these guys in suits. You have the Dominatrix, the Trinity type character. You have the SWAT team, the police force, coming trying to get this girl. And there's actually a scene where she jumps out of a window backwards and falls out of a high-rise building. The exact thing that happens in Matrix Reloaded. In the dream sequence in the intro. In fact, this is it. Right here. These panels. These right here. Let's see if I can blow this up a little bit bigger. I'm doing my best here. Alright. So, these two shots right here, the Wachowskis lifted from Ghost in the Shell here and used in the opening of Matrix Reloaded. Without a doubt, in my mind. You even have the whoosh sound effect, all the glass breaking. And I do believe she is wielding firearms as well. So very uncanny. But we already know that the Wachowskis were using Ghost in the Shell as a template. And here is some of the evidence. Now, there's a whole lot of different concepts in this manga. Now, am I reading that right? This takes place in 2029? Sci-fi does like to do the 40 years into the future type of thing. So this was released in 89 and it was the setting was taking place in 2029. Now I know that not all of this is going to match up, but you could see right here there are jacks in the neck. Again, Ghost in the Shell, 1989. We're talking about precedents today. What work preceded the other? Well, sure looks like jacks in the neck occurred here in Ghost in the Shell well before the Matrix. That's for sure. So again, we're not going to look through all of this. There's 357 pages. And I can't read any of this anyway because it's all in Italian. And even though I know a little bit of Italian, it's not going to help me get through this. But I thought that was really interesting that the color panels in this manga were already finding matchups to what eventually was released as the Wachowskis' Matrix. Thank you, Zen. Yeah, and we're just briefly reviewing these panels. It's nothing nothing vindictive here. I'm not trying to keep people from getting the manga. I mean, it is accessible to anybody. You can seek it out and purchase it. But I just needed a quick copy to review here with you guys. I did want to get the full thing in English, but it just was not possible digitally at this time. And I've been getting a few other books for my deep dive series, multiple series. So we'll take a break from this for right now, because I do have to just break it up a bit, so that we don't run into the same issue as we did last week. But I want to briefly talk about my deep dive series, my new ones that are going forward. What would you guys think about me releasing some of these new deep dive series as fully edited, presented episodes instead of streaming live with them? Because I've been tossing that idea around, and I do have 3 more shows that I'm going to premiere, and I was thinking one of them can be post-produced, not live streamed, but when I upload it, that's going to be the release of the episodic deep dives for that particular one. But yeah, just let me know what you guys think about that, because I'm stretching myself thin here. It's not easy work doing all these shows every week. 4 shows a week is it's definitely stuff I have to plan around. And there are weeks where I can't get to 1 show out of the 4, and I have to push it back another week. So I've been running into those issues, but it's mostly just been time commitment and yet last Sunday doesn't even feel like a week ago. It feels like it was only like 2 or 3 days ago. Really bizarre. For those of you who are wondering too, I have not looked at any new Alt House interviews that may have came up over the past 2 weeks. I just don't have the energy for it. Because I spent hours breaking down these little jabs, this dismissive attitude of this previous guest that I had on my channel here. And from all the praise that he was giving to now just total throwing under the bus type of deal that he's doing now with me, as well as a few other of his hosts that he had in the past, makes me want, like, I was really thinking from time to time, and I didn't really want to admit it, but I was thinking every time he was dropping other hosts off, I was thinking, like, well, when is my time next? Like, or when is my time going to come up where he's going to drop me? And, again, it's not a big deal. It's just the way he went about doing it. And all from a matter of me trying to save him from being handled. So it's really bizarre. Now, YouTube is not showing this to my subscribers. It's telling me there's 2 concurrent viewers. And this is a 2047 subscriber channel. This is unreal. I should have at least 100 people in here. But that's not the case. Now, it's not an attention-seeking thing at all. It's a numbers thing. I should have at least 10% of my subscribers here. On a good day. You see how I cap that? I'm being humble here. But who knows? I could have been blacklisted for the board meeting videos I used to re-upload. I could have been blacklisted for the stuff Tom was saying on my shows. I mean, when you come in here, I mean, I bring guests on here. I vet them out. I vetted Tom out. His story seemed solid. But if you notice, he does a lot of shit talking about other people. For someone who says that he wants to help the world, he sure knows how to point out everybody's fallibilities. Whether he's right about it or not. Because he's clearly spreading misinformation about myself. Saying I left him hanging high and dry. His quote to me in his email was 5 minutes to eternity. He didn't fucking care. Alright? 5 minutes to eternity. But yeah. At least that's all over now. Or he's not going to come on this show anymore. And that's his choice. I left the door open for him to come in here and defend himself. But he'd rather compare me to a Frosty the Snowman character. All right. Well, I know I compared Tom to Franklin or Michigan J. Frog, and you could say that was just as bad. But when the guy's going from show to show, I thought that suited him perfectly in terms of actions and character. Singing the same song, turns on and off. Like you could talk about the Matrix day and night, but then once that's done, shut down for the rest of the day. And that's Michigan J. Frog. Just a normal frog sitting around. The owner's like, here, sing for the people. Sing. And it just sits there. But then when everybody leaves, that frog gets up with his top hat and cane. Hello, my baby. Hello, my honey. Hello, my ragtime gal. And I thought that was a fair comparison. Especially for what he ended up doing. His next big show. Once he got Roseanne, he felt he didn't need any of us anymore. He views us as peons. But he goes on smaller and smaller and smaller channels to then go talk shit about the larger channels that he used to be on. So just he keeps on shrinking his base more and more and more. He can brag about his website being viewed from across the world, but then he doesn't even know how to use a VPN. Yeah, Zenray says, I compared him to Norman Bates. Yeah. And that's a good comparison for you to make. Because it's kind of creepy, some of the stuff. The old theater costumes that he's still hanging on to in his house. I don't know about that. You know, he also had a pencil mustache for a brief time. Shortly after I left last year, he gave himself a pencil mustache. And I don't know, I think Brenda said he did grow it out like that, but he started off as a Sharpie and then actually shaved it into its thing, and then he took on the moniker of Mr. Lampshade or some shit. I don't know. I mean, you talk about somebody that's out of touch. That's pretty out of touch there. Like, who the heck is... Who younger than myself is going to get that reference? Anybody under 30 is not going to, like, know what the heck that even means. Was it from the game Clue? But this guy seems to really like to enjoy seeing himself in all of these movies and films. And I mean, I guess that's part of, like, going to the movies. You want to relate to the characters and everything. But this guy takes it to the next fucking level in a bad way. Where it discredits his original story. I mean, tossing in Kung Fu Panda and Ratatouille. 2 movies I haven't seen. Or don't care to see. Like, when am I going to go watch those? I don't have time to do that. I've seen clips of Ratatouille. I've seen clips of Kung Fu Panda. But then he's trying to rope in Meet the Fockers, Meet the Parents, Dustin Hoffman, the architect stuff. I got a new thing to share today, too. So, when I was at Tom's, he had a silver pen that he claimed was the architect pen. But after I pried with questions about it, of where he acquired it, he got it well after the Matrix franchise was over with. I think he said he got it like just right before 2010 or right after. That he found it in a thrift shop and he said, "This looks exactly like the one I had." Alright. Then why the fuck you have it there And why the fuck are you telling me that it's the architect pen? Because at first impression, I was like, ooh, just like everyone else. But after asking him to elaborate and him revealing what was actually going on with it, I'm like, this is shit. Why even do this? Why present it in that fashion? That further discredits you, Tom. If I were to have filmed the documentary at his place, and we included that pen in the filmed interviews, then that would have been all scrap footage when I got to the editing room with it. Because it doesn't solidify his case. All it does is muddy the waters even more. You know, Zenray, I've heard of that story, Flowers in the Attic. Yeah, the situation with Tom and his sons, I really don't know what's true and what's not at this point. My assumption right now is he became estranged from them. They were living their own lives. And then freak accidents happened very close to each other. And it sent him on this spiral of, I don't know what you would want to call it, psychosis. You see, the beautiful thing about the English language is you have words that summarize entire multiple paragraphs of descriptions of individuals. And one of those condensed words that really frames Tom to a T. I hit the mic there, sorry. One of those words is narcissist and narcissism. And it's really funny that he tried to fling that word back to me, as trying to say that I'm the narcissist here. No, I can admit when I'm wrong. That's the difference, Tom. I can admit when I've misstepped. I can admit that, yes, I didn't show up somewhere late. He accused me of not showing up for the interview, but I was sitting here waiting for him under the assumption he had the link to enter the Zoom chat. And if he didn't have it, it's a clear misunderstanding where two adult males can figure out a solution to. But Tom is clearly not acting like an adult in this situation, is he? Because now, let's see, November, December, January, February, March, April, May. It's been 7 months, and I have gotten zero contact from Tom. Zenray says, flowers in the attic. The grandmother hides the grandchildren up in the attic and feeds them poisoned cookies. And the mother allows it in order to be accepted into the family. Wow. And Zen also says, Tom is mudblood, half Illuminati. Oh my. Man, you're throwing those words around like crazy, man. It's alright. Oh, it's just, that's a loaded statement right there. Those mudbloods, eh? You see, I'm part of that generation that physically read the books of the Harry Potter series as they came out. And, Man, oh man. When I do these deep dives and I'm reading these books, I'm realizing that I can pronounce and understand a lot of the words that are being used. More so than most people my age, I believe. And I guess a piece of proof that I'm very well read and my vocabulary is large. And this is just a side note here, but I believe it was 8th grade. I was a runner-up in the spelling bee, so I was 4th place. I misspelled the word burglary. And I misspelled it because of feeling the tension in the room. See, and that's another issue with me. Like, I have these other gifts that I'm not fully aware of yet. And feeling the energy in the room is one thing. This past Friday, I went out to McHenry, Illinois, and I filmed the band over there that I've been filming for many years now. But after that gig, like, I was just euphoric. I was, to use a lack of a better term, I was on the moon. Like, I was just so overwhelmed with how, like, relieved I was that I was back to filming and doing gigs. Something that I haven't done for quite a while now, unfortunately. But I do hope to pick that up going forward and do more. Keep it repeating, going every weekend, doing that stuff. I'd love to get back to doing that every weekend. Plus, the money is good in there. But, you know, since 2020, a lot of things changed. After the venues closed down, these bands were trying to just save every penny they could. They didn't think they needed to have video anymore. And it's just unfortunate. Or they've taught themselves how to edit, and then they don't need my services anymore. It's unfortunate. But yeah, going back to the spelling bee thing, it was like I got nervous from the tension in the room, and I misspelled the word burglary. And perhaps that made me more of a spelling freak later on in life than if I were to have passed that and gotten into the final rounds with the top 3. It's like, I was in it to win it. I wanted to win the spelling bee. I really believed that I could. And to make such a simple mistake due to I guess it was a form of stage fright, but like, there's something just being in front of a crowd. You're never going to not have that heart palpitation thing happen. It's always going to pop up at some point. And it's because we're alive. We're human. So after that point, like in high school, I went on to do theater my junior and senior year. Or no, what was it? My sophomore year and my senior year, I performed live theater in high school. And senior year, I did a musical, and I was a pretty large supporting character in it. For Bye Bye Birdie, I was the father of the main character, the girl that runs after the Birdie character. So I had all of this experience throughout high school of performing in front of large crowds. Eventually, that got me comfortable with showing up at public board meetings in my village here. My ease of talking in front of an audience, I attribute it a lot to those experiences. And then even here, it's like I need to always get over that sensation of like I'm gonna let people down if I don't do things the right way. Like that's why this show is a more relaxed show, and we're not focused on one topic. Although, to look at the background, this kind of turned into a let's talk about who really wrote the Matrix type of deal. But I really don't care. I like a lot of this. I put so much time and effort into trying to find the truth about what's been going on, and I don't need to hear the naysayers tell me not to stream, not to do this, not to do that, not talk about this, not talk about that. You see what Ghost in the Shell has. Tom didn't want to talk about it. He dismissed it. I was looking up flowers in the attic. Oh, man. Yeah, we'll look at some of these book covers just briefly. But yeah. We still have Ghost in the Shell here. Now, this also, it looks like there's some really rich characters that are shown. And again, we're just skimming the surface here. It's nothing that I've read prior that I can give you an in-depth critique to. But considering that the other people involved with trying to get to the bottom of all of this stuff with the Matrix, that they don't really want to address this work, I think that says a lot. Almost like this collapses the House of Cards. So, boo-hoo. At this point, that's my response. Boo-hoo. Can't talk about certain things because it'll kill your narrative, then I guess your narrative wasn't that strong to begin with, was it? So yesterday I had the Chicago Film Industry Show. We're 9 parts in. We have 6 parts left through the end of June, covering Flickering Empire, and then that will be pretty much it for the Chicago film industry, unless I get some book covering Edison, or specifically covering S&A Studios, or specifically covering Charlie Chaplin's time that he spent in Chicago and the film industry here. And or if I find a book on Selig, then I'll definitely expand on that series. But I feel that the Chicago film industry series that I'm doing on this channel is going to be one of the first ones where it won't be weekly anymore. So that'll be one of the first ones to take a break. And yeah, at some point all of these will be capped and they'll be complete, but I want to make these as thorough as possible. And I want to give easy access to these topics to people. So we're taking it at a steady pace. It's nothing too wild. But we are going to have to figure out what we're doing with a few of these things. Like, I haven't even gotten to this book yet. This book was featured on the news rack in the film They Live with Roddy Piper. I think John Carpenter strategically placed that in the film as something for his audience to look into. And I do believe that ESP is a thing. I've encountered a few people that seem to share that trait. It's a little spooky. It's a little woo-woo. But it's definitely something that occurs. There's been times when I've thought about things, and then I've had individuals come up to me and talk about them. It's like, what prompted them to do that? And I think some of these people that have these gifts are unaware of them. I don't want to say that they're like hearing voices in their head or something, but these thoughts may not be their own. They might be reading other people's thoughts and then coming and talking to people about what the other person was thinking about, such as what's happened with myself with a few individuals. And I wonder if that's what's happening with that. But this book was not written by Edgar Cayce himself. This was written by Doris Agee under the editorship of Hugh Lynn Cayce, which I believe it's a relative of him. But again, you look at the publisher, Warner Books. So we have Warner Brothers yet again, and it's in the form of literature now as well. So we really can't seem to get away from Warner Brothers. But they're a big part of what you see as the backdrop. And everything else we've been talking about here for the past 5 episodes. It's just really incredible. Not that many people watching live. It's just something I can't explain. I've been doing weekly live shows since January. This is the 5th month where I've been doing show after show after show. I have tags with certain keywords that should bring people in. Doesn't seem to work. I get a surge of views after I finish live, which I think is unusual. You'd think that the algorithm would be trying to bring the viewers in while I'm live, but no, that doesn't occur. At least to the scale that I'd like it to. But that's whatever. I'm not looking... Like, I don't know how to explain it. It's not that big of an issue to me, but just the numbers alone don't make sense. It does feel very manipulated. Like, there are certain channels chosen by YouTube to be successful, and the rest of them all get suppressed. Because there's no explanation for it. How can a channel with 2,047 subs have 2 people watching concurrently, but then a 300 subscriber channel can have 10 people watching concurrently? Sometimes 12? Like, I don't think I've ever had 12 people watching concurrently here. That's how bad it is. And it's not because my content's bad. It's just they're doing some screwy thing. And you know, eBay is also the same way. There's a certain cap with the algorithms. I cannot get more than 10 items sold every weekend. Somebody went and bought 9 CDs, but bought them as individual orders, made me have to go and condense them all down into one. And nothing against that buyer, by the way, in case they find this channel and watch it at some point. Nothing against that guy. But eBay viewed that as 9 separate orders, plus I had an extra one from prior to that Friday evening. So, you know what happened? One sale yesterday. And we're still waiting today, 12 hours into the day, for a sale for Sunday. But according to eBay, if it's running on some AI algorithm or whatever, it's viewing my store as having sold 10 items, and that's it for the weekend now. Because it is capped. I don't know why. Some days I can, or some weekends I can get like 14, 15 orders, but that's with an extra day. Like, I'm sure next weekend, for Memorial Day weekend, I'll probably get 15 orders. But that's still following the same template of no more than 5 orders on any given weekday. And then the same thing goes for the weekend. By Monday, I'm having 10 orders to ship out. Most of the time, less than that. But definitely more than 5 after the weekend's over. And I have thousands of items up. And I'm constantly taking the old ones down now and putting them back up as new. So I'm not sure what's happening there with that. But yeah, due to all of that, like due to hitting a cap with eBay, like I can't seem to get past a certain threshold there, even though my impressions are going up, my views of items have gone up, my rate of sales have gone up. But I mean, this was after taking a huge slump, and now they're just kind of freezing everything. And YouTube's doing the same thing here with this channel, where thanks to the super chats you guys gave me, I should be getting paid on Wednesday from Google. But again, it's $115, and the last time I got paid by Google was in October, and that was about $120, $125. So you tell me how I'm supposed to survive on all that. That's why this Friday, when I went and filmed that music gig, I was very relieved, but also it reminded me where my passion lies. And that's going out and helping and filming. Like, I love filming and putting my perspective on things. When I'm filming with the camera, I'm ending up giving that final shot to other people to use. But I'm proud that that's my shot, you know? I take a certain sense of pride in my work and the way I present things. And everything's a lot more lax with live streaming. I really didn't want to start live streaming like I am now. But after the lockdowns 5 years ago, that was almost becoming inevitable that I would have to do something like this. But now I have a good variety here. It is bringing new people to the channel. I had new subscribers that subscribed on Thursday, so thank you guys. I do hope to hear from more of you soon. Don't be shy. I do not bite, contrary to what others may say. But yeah, the Bermuda Triangle series is really bringing in a lot of new people. The Chicago Film Industry series is the most viewed playlist on the channel. So that took the place, that knocked the Alt House interviews down to second place. But yeah, it's not a competition. I'm just trying to get this stuff out there. So at some point, we'll get these new shows going. But I have the intro for the Great Lakes Triangle finished, and man, is it good. I really enjoy it. Gee, did we lose music? No, it's still playing. Okay. Yeah, I don't have too much else to talk about today. Like I said, I did not research for the past 2 weeks on whatever Tom's been up to, but, you know, he's out there doing his thing, obviously. But, if there's anything in there where he's talking about me again or referring to me, we will talk about it here eventually. So if Tom thinks I've given up and given him a free pass to just bullshit his way through his interviews now and say that I'm a nobody, a D-list anonymous. Can you believe he said that about me? Man, oh man. The ungratefulness of that dude. And for him to be able to be so detached like that, that's why I call him a narcissist. Because out of all the praise that he gave me for all the work and time I poured into editing, not only presenting him here live for all of you, and to get a clean video and audio feed of him, as well as myself, and then for him to go turn around and talk so poorly about me, as if I didn't do a single thing for him. That did hurt me. I mean, the way that he just decided to end the business relationship is just, it's wrong. Nobody should have to go through any of that. But yet here I am, having experienced that with him. So that sucks. But we move on. And some of you may think, oh no, Steve's not moving on. No, I mean, this is like an extended epilogue of all this stuff. And life does go on. And that includes this asshole going on other shows and talking crap about me. So I am going to address it. Whether he likes it or not. It's too bad. Let's see here. We're almost at an hour in now. Oh, look at that. See, we were just talking crap about eBay. Just saying how the algorithms weren't working. But a DVD just sold. And again, these are movies that I acquired that people were throwing away. Or they just didn't want them anymore and were giving them away. And also life events and stuff. I don't want to get into too much detail with that. But I have on the other channels I've been on. Spiritual Encrypted Encounters, I've been a guest on several times. As well as Beyond the Box. Oh, man. Yeah, see, I'm not, like, today, I am not really in the mood to drain my energy reviewing videos of Tom or me talking about him on other shows. I was actually thinking about reviewing some of my Beyond the Box interviews here, which I do have permission to use those shows from Brenda, and I was on those shows talking about my experiences from last year. I mean, there was a lot that went into those 2 weeks. I had to make a lot of sacrifices to make that happen. And it's insulting to me the way things turned out. If I had known that this would have not bared fruit, I wouldn't have watered it. But it is what it is. Still at 2 concurrent viewers for right now. Isn't that incredible? I don't get any explanation either. It seems like YouTube wants me to do more shorts. But again, I have to make the videos vertical. I have to go into the editing program and cut the clips and everything. And I don't want to flood the feed with bullshit. When I release stuff, it's because I think it's important for people to see. So that's why I don't have tens of thousands of reels out there. Zen says, Tom loves to kill gardens, apparently. Yeah. Oh, at least that's what he said to me, that when I asked him about the garden, one of the last times that I did talk to him on the phone, what was it, last September? It's like, oh no, it's dead. What? Excuse me? The same garden that you were so excited about, that I helped you dig out? That then you told me no, you didn't want it there, and you covered it up and then dug out your own spot. And while you were digging that out, I'm like, I'm sleeping in the morning because you're too fixated on the garden. But then in the middle of you doing gardening, Tom, you claim that God's speaking to you, you need me to transcribe your thoughts. Like, no, dude. I don't. Firstly, the structure of all of that, what I just described, is so chaotic. Like, I'm not going to be up at 6 in the morning waiting around for 4 hours for your fucking thoughts from God to arrive. And then I have to scramble to help you before those thoughts leave. And if I'm, like, not there within your little 2-minute window, then your thoughts are lost. And then you spend the rest of the day sulking around, being like, oh man, we missed a big one. Get the fuck out of here, man. I spent my time out there so that I would have been fine working day and night on producing a documentary for him, where we could really get into the nitty-gritty details of his whole situation. But he didn't want any of that. We could have sat in front of a camera for 5 hours and just talked about everything. He didn't want to do any of that. Now let's write a book. Who gave you that idea to write a book, Tom? Was it Penny? Because initially you were saying it was your mom, and I think that was a cover-up. Your handler did their job. Took your time away from working with me while I was there. Oh, I have this show to do in the morning with Penny, and then again in the afternoon, and then again this evening. Dude, you're doing 3 fucking shows today? Like, that happened out there. And then he's telling me we're not getting any work done. Well, no shit, buddy. What the fuck? When you cram your schedule like that, really what you should have did, Tom, is tell Penny, Steve's here, we're working on the documentary, I have to take a hiatus from the shows. Click. Done. But no, I need to be there for Penny and her show. And then he has the gall to tell me in those emails that he didn't show up here or got cold feet and left after 5 minutes, where he's saying, like, I can't believe you would bring up your subscribers, that, like, they're looking forward to seeing me on your channel, Steve. Well, what else am I supposed to say? Am I supposed to lie to you? Nobody cares, Tom. Nobody cares that you're showing up. That's why you're getting all these views on my channel, right? So you care about Penny's subscribers, but not mine. I get it. I get it. Your priorities are out of whack. Don't worry about it. Yeah, he did totally gaslight me, Zen. Zen says, that sounds like torture, Steve. Sorry you went through that. Oh man, I got so much content that I could just slow release from those 2 weeks. I have audio clips from our note taking. I have my own, like, audio blogs that I started doing. He encouraged me to do audio notes about my time there. But I don't know. It might be interesting to some of you to hear it, but, like, really, I'm trying to make excuses for his behavior and why he's so fucked up. I say it's the PTSD or whatever from losing his children. But he has no fucking pictures of the two sons anywhere in his house, up on the walls. Nothing to just remind him every day. But he says it's always on his mind. And then he's talking to himself while he's going through his daily tasks. Am I going to walk in on him and interrupt that stuff? No, I'm sorry, man. Like, you're busy. You tell me when you're ready. And, hey, if I'm sleeping when you're ready, I told him, walk into my room. I say the same thing about, like, there's a narcissist that I've told that to on a different occasion. I'm like, if I'm asleep, or if you need to talk to me and it's important, you could knock on my door, but you can also just open the door. There's a handle on the door. You can turn it and it opens the door. And then you can walk through the door. And then that leads right back into here with the Matrix talk. What did Morpheus say to Neo? I can only show you the door. You're the one that has to walk through it. So when Tom was complaining that I was sleeping in the mornings, and that he called out for me from the back fucking door, and my fucking room's at the front of the house, Steve, I'm ready. And then he says he didn't hear me, that he didn't hear a response because I was sleeping. I'm like, dude, if you were ready, you should have came in the room and woke me up. And he's like, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. That's a second instance of me dealing with a narcissist like that, where they are afraid to open doors. Like they're imposing on someone's personal space. It's so fucking bizarre. They'll go and destroy all of your personal property because you looked at them wrong. But they can't walk through an open door. Or a closed door, for that matter. Closed door, forget about it. Open door, they'll kind of sulkily, am I allowed to fuck your life up here today now? Is it okay? But if the door's closed, they'll just walk straight fucking past it. Oh no, you were busy. Whatever, man. I don't know what to say. These narcissists are really a fucking handful. And when you have to walk like you're walking on eggshells, and that's how you have to approach most of these conversations with them, it gets to a point where people say enough. The people working with those narcissists tap out. They're like, no, fuck this. Fuck this. I can't be myself around you. Fuck this. Even though I was being myself around Tom, I was being myself and being very genuine. But, like, I couldn't say, like, Tom, stop freaking out. Tom, like, I told him, Tom, I'm not going to abandon you. He abandoned me in the end. Look at this. Like, he decided it was finished. This whole work relationship of trying to get him noticed. Not to get him on his fucking yachts that he wants. Not to get him his starlets that he wants. Not to get him those meetings on the yachts with the starlets and world dignitaries to discuss world peace. I don't know what the fuck time frame he's living in, but that's not a lifestyle that, like, is in my future. Nor do I want it. I don't want to be fucking going around on a yacht. I have enough problems wanting to get on a fucking airplane. Why would I get on a giant boat and go in the middle of nowhere? It's like you're asking to be assassinated almost. And what, he's gonna accept food from all these other people and he talks badly about my food? Like, fuck that. You're gonna act like a little child, not eat your food, and then you're not gonna eat. But the funny thing about Tom talking about my food was that I ate that from the same pan. I served it to both of us on 2 plates. We both ate the same food. Then the spraying from the planes happened, from the low-range plane that night. And then he has the sniffles the next day, and he's blaming it on the planes. But then here he goes on fucking Veronica's show and says that it was probably my bad cooking that got him sick. Well, if I ate the same food as you, Tom, then how did I not get sick? Especially when I made it in the same pan that was served to you as well as me. The logic and reasoning tends to fall away with narcissists. Also, there's a complete lack of responsibility. So, talking all day about documentary. Oh, a documentary. We're going to make a documentary. We're going to make a documentary. He's going on all these shows talking about, oh, just wait until the documentary's released. There is no fucking documentary. Nothing's being worked on. Nothing's being made. It's all fucking talk. And then when he decided to assign me to do books, he goes on John B. Wells' show not even days later after I got there for a second time last year. And John B. Wells asks him when the book is going to be ready because he brings up about how he's working on a book now with me. And he mentioned my name, I believe, but he like said it weird, like he'd mispronounced it. A really fucked up thing to do. I know my name is hard to pronounce, but he knows my last name is Yissil. But he says it like all these other dipshits that don't really care about what they say. Like, Yassel. That's the most mispronounced way people say my last name. It's Yissil. But he couldn't get that done. But when John was interviewing him in that second show in April of 2025, and Tom brought up the fact that, oh, there's a book being made now about everything going on, John asked him, when do you expect to have the book released, Tom? And Tom kind of panicked in that moment and just blurted out, July. And I'm sitting in the guest room that he gave me to use on the fucking laptop listening to this thing live on John B. Wells' website. And I'm just like counting on my fingers. Hold up, wait a minute. It's April right now, May. June, July. You just gave me 3 months to fucking finish this for you, and you tell this on a national radio show that gets out to fucking tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of people? And you're putting that kind of pressure on me so that when I say fuck this, then you go and you're able to pass the blame, to not take responsibility for your words. For you to throw that on me and say that, I didn't follow through on making the book. Dude, you saw the fucking pictures here. We had all of the notepads. I photographed all of those notes so I could transcribe them later. I still have those photos to possibly transcribe later. But what the fuck's the point of it now? Especially when he's wandering aimlessly. He's going to UFO conferences now, speaking there about this stuff falling on the... this is somehow related to UFO. No, there's no fucking aliens in the Matrix. And I've never heard Tom talk about aliens. Ever. Ever. I'll say it again. Ever. And I had also mentioned not to, on the Let's Talks, I said, don't trust Carrie Cassidy. Cliff High worked with Carrie Cassidy. I trust Cliff High. He's already died and came back to life. Had a coming to Jesus and God moment there. But part of that, the reason I say that, Cliff High doesn't give a shit about what people think with what he says. But he has vast amounts of research on AI models and language models. He studies language models to potentially predict future events. So he has a high understanding of artificial intelligence and how far it can go. And his stance is that a spirit cannot possess an artificial intelligence structure. And he says that Carrie Cassidy's going around saying, yes, it can. And he's saying that's bullshit that she's saying that. And so I believe Cliff when he says to stay away from Carrie Cassidy. But how does Tom view this? That I'm trying to take away all his friends, that I'm a handler now, that I'm getting rid of all... You know how many times I've had narcissists flip the script on me with many situations. This is yet another one. Here I'm honestly trying to help him. There's the handler. There's the handler. Doesn't fucking matter how close they are to you. That's the point. They're handling you. They will show up as a friend. They will show up as a lover. You've said it yourself, Tom. You had wives that turned out to be handlers. Being concubines for you for some other fucking nefarious bloodline fucking continuation ritual. Whatever the fuck you want to call that. I know you have one son, Aiden. He didn't seem to like to spend time with you. Maybe it's because he's a teenager, he'd rather play video games. I was similar growing up myself. But I also dealt with living with narcissists. Okay? Well, maybe one. But you see, I'm being very closed with how I reveal what's going on in my life with my family. Because now, it's not important. It's not important for the bigger picture of things. What is important is that you know that I have had many experiences dealing with narcissists. And it explains so well the behaviors of individuals, and it's like you could sum up months of behavior with just that one word. And that's why it hurts them so bad. And I don't use it to hurt them. It's just they're like, oh... Tom said himself, my words are like daggers. Well, I guess I'm Kung Fu English, motherfucker. Right? What else am I supposed to say? Make you feel inferior? That's, again, on you. Zenray says it's a lot more than just narcissism, I have a feeling. Yeah, I believe it's a little more than that myself. I mean, we were talking about possible schizophrenia. And then Zenray also said, Veronica started recording early on their last video together 2 weeks ago, and he was mumbling to himself, like you're saying, all on camera. Oh, God. Yeah, so see, I'm not... Again, in the famous words of CM Punk, tell me when I'm telling lies. Okay, I got this to wash down on the table here. Okay, I got the spoon. I got the pan. Okay, got to dry this off. Okay. And then we do this and this. All right. And then we do this and this. That's the behavior I witnessed from him. And yes, I ad-lib a bit so that I can get that effect off, so you can understand the way he was behaving. Like, I wasn't quoting word for word there what he did, but that's, in essence, how he behaved. Yeah, we have the power of language. And I'm going to use it every time. It's in my arsenal. I could use language to my advantage, and I don't do it, like, spitefully. I just naturally flow this way. And there's times when I can't find the words to explain things. Sometimes it takes me a while. Sometimes it takes me a few weeks. Sometimes a few days. But eventually I find the words. And when I use those words, it's for a purpose. Purpose. Like Smith says. Oh, man. That whole... So we were talking about AI, right? Let's get back to that topic again. Objectively, the Wachowskis' trilogy of The Matrix and the way that they cared about the Smith character. Let's get this straight. They made Smith a top priority for them in the sequels. But the concept of Smith being artificial intelligence and being aware and being conscious, it's such a fascinating subject. But then there's limits to that as well, because he doesn't have a soul. And when he gets corrupted after writing over Neo in the first movie, by the second movie, he's talking about, like, something's changed, and, like, he's able to unplug himself from, like, the little earpiece thing, and he shows up with the package and gives that for Neo with the earpiece inside of it. But then he's also copying himself onto other people like a virus. He becomes the very thing he was trying not to be. So it's a very cool type of character study with Smith. I really appreciate that concept is out there. And my interpretation of Smith, I've never gone into full detail with, but I might actually make one of those edited videos, not a live stream, just covering the Smith character. Because my concept of what was going on with him is that the corruption that became of Smith eventually had him seeking out his creator, but it also got him obsessed with fecal matter. And this may sound gross, but if you are not a human, you're not a living being, you're artificial intelligence, it's very plausible that if he is corrupted, where, like, the code's messed up, kind of like people say, hey, it's not right up there, that type of thing. Smith wasn't right because he corrupted his code writing over Neo, and now he's trying to He's trying to repeat that in the second film, just copying over people. But essentially, he's murdering everybody. He murders Bane and takes over his body, and then he jacks out of the Matrix, and he's walking around in the flesh suit, basically, if you want to call it that, to be very crude. But Bane in the Matrix sequels is Smith, essentially. By the end of it, he's Smith. Now, the question I have with that is, do all of the Smith copies have like a collective consciousness, or are they all operating individually? My interpretation was that Smiths that are all within the Matrix were operating on a hive mind, except for Bane, which rode over a human being and jacked out of the Matrix through that human being. I think that's the only instance of Smith that was separate from the corrupted Smith within the Matrix that Neo eventually had to eliminate by also eliminating himself at the end of Revolutions. Spoiler alert for anybody who's been asleep for 22 years. But yeah. Zenray says, if words are daggers, I have a few to throw his way myself. Yeah. Zen, you just you take your time. When you're ready to talk about it, I'm sure people are gonna really appreciate what you have to say. But yeah, the Smith character, I do believe, just based off of the language that Smith was using in those sequels, I think he couldn't get over the concept of humans eating food and then defecating it. And wondering how, like, he could probably have all this textbook knowledge uploaded to his memory that, like, oh yeah, well, like, the human body absorbs nutrients and then the waste is excreted out at the end and all that. But if there's a corruption in the code of Smith, some of those parts don't make sense to him because they're missing. So just to float this concept out there, Smith could have retained some of the full explanation of how human beings sustain themselves, but he's missing the whole digestive process. So he's trying to understand, why do people eat just to poop? And then that drives him fucking nuts, being a program designed to function as a human being. So that's my take on it. There's a lot more that I have, because I mean, I studied this franchise for a long time, a really long time. They were even playing around with the idea with Sati, with the two programs procreating and making a new program in the Matrix. I mean, these were high concepts that were presented in a very mainstream way to the public. And yeah, it's just unfortunate that it turned out the way it is. I'm convinced that the Wachowskis took a deal and they have to play dress up. They don't enjoy being trans. It's a forced upon thing for them. And especially Andy Wachowski, the bald dude. I really think he held out for the longest time until they probably found something to hold against him. Something along the lines of like an Epstein flight log or some shit. I mean, I'm not ruling anything out at this point. But you see how Keanu has like his fiance, a similar thing with her. A runaway car wouldn't stop. The brakes wouldn't work. Crashed into front of like a 3 flat in the city. You could come to the conclusions that these people all took deals. That's why they're so successful in Hollywood. I mean, I don't know if you'd say Wachowskis are successful, but they got the Speed Racer remake. They got V for Vendetta. They kind of shit the bed with Cloud Atlas and whatever Rising. I forget, like, these are the later films I don't really care about. Sense8, I don't care about. I never looked into those. Bound I did look into. Bound has the 11 symbolism, the Freemasonry stuff. 1 and 1. Come on, the 2 sequels to The Matrix, Reloaded and Revolutions. It's all about the duality of the 1 and Smith, I guess not the 1, the 0. The 0 and the 1. And you put 2 objects together, that's 11. And then you frame everything with 11. So I see that throughout Hollywood films. Especially big blockbuster films. Also B movies. The ones that just were made to initiate some of these people. Such as Bound. Bound was a real B movie at first. That was like the precursor to The Matrix. Just like Memento was a precursor to Nolan getting the Batman franchise. And only because of the Blade screenwriter. I think it was David Goyer, if I recall correctly. I'm convinced that Nolan has made sacrifices of that magnitude. That he's essentially sold his soul. Just like Tarantino. Tarantino's also another one. It's just a shame. I grew up believing a lot of this was organic reach. Or just talented people were getting noticed. Like Kevin Smith the Kevin Smith today is not the Kevin Smith that I watched growing up. The Kevin Smith today's had the heart attack and the seeing God moment, but now he's like crying at every movie he watches. It's like got a big dose of estrogen. I don't know what's going on with Kevin Smith. But I did appreciate his early works, even though it was a very, very crude collection of works. Very vulgar. But I was introduced to that stuff 7th, 8th grade. Around the same time as The Matrix, to be honest. It was like right after. It was like I watched the Kevin Smith franchise collection, whatever, and then I watched The Matrix not too long after that. So it was good comedy for me with Kevin Smith. It was more intellectual stuff with the Matrix. Let's see how long have we been going here. I think I can go another half hour and call it. Although this feels like I've dragged it out too long already. Let's see here. We'll look at a few more pages of Ghost in the Shell while I talk here. But yeah, when I was getting... So, like, I got introduced to The Matrix between 2000 and 2002. I had the ending of the original Matrix spoiled for me. I walked in on the end of it being played in my house. And I don't think we should be showing too much of this stuff. We're just going quickly through here. So when we were prepping, when my buddy and I were prepping to see the new Matrix Reloaded and Revolutions, we were on lastfreecity.net, which no longer exists. It's a huge forum of all these people talking about their ideas of what they think the Matrix sequels will entail. And damn, that would have been a good thing to archive, because there were probably really good fucking ideas on there. But I was also made aware of that they had, the Wachowskis had put together a graphic novel prior to making the first Matrix. And then here we find out eventually that it's the it was the storyboardist that got all of these images put together, and then the Wachowskis just said, "Oh yes, that's exactly what was in our heads," and then they went and made that whole thing. So they pretty much stole this dude's artistic style and said it was what they thought when they were creating the first Matrix film. So it's just real shitty all around. But they did get the graphic novel published. And as we've heard from Tom Althouse here, that Bonaventura wanted Althouse to look at this graphic novel here, Ghost in the Shell, which is from '89. Just so that he can get an idea of the cyberpunk aesthetic, right? So he was told to do this and he refused to look at it. And I didn't look at it because I just didn't, like, I didn't have a care to look. But look at this. A lot of this looks very similar to what the Matrix graphic novel looks like. Like, here's another image of a pod. Yeah. Look at that, 2029. I do want to get the Ghost in the Shell novel, graphic novel, with in English, and I'm gonna have to get the physical copy of it, not digital. But when I do, we'll have a nice review to go over with all of this. And until then, this is the best we can do. At least I attempted to show stuff that contradicts previous claims here. And again, it's not to be vindictive or nefarious. I'm just trying to figure all this stuff out. My tagline on a lot of these platforms that I put videos out for is I'm a filmmaker seeking truth in film and politics. And during this Let's Talk series, I've been saying there's truth in everything. Even some of the biggest lies, there's truth in there somewhere. The lies bury the truth, but you can find the truth in the lies if you look hard enough. And it varies from thing to thing. So it makes all of that difficult the further you delve into things. But I'm still here. I'm not getting rid of anything. It's never been my intention. I always put stuff out that I'm happy with. I enjoy producing content. I've always been that way. The very few things that I have taken down from my channel have been at the request of previous clients that had better work from me later on. And they're like, take the old stuff down so we can promote the new stuff. Okay, I understand that. That's fine. But as far as my guest interviews go, like, all of that's staying. I don't know why people would think I'm taking it down, but no, it's all staying up. I am doing a new interview with Nadine Askey, the volunteer that was helping all of those families in North Carolina. She'll be back on this channel on Wednesday evening, and we're going to aim to do this at 6 p.m. Central Time. So she'll be back here giving an update on the goings on and what she's been doing with all that. And hopefully I can do it without Zoom, because I've been relying on that for all of my interviews. But if we have to use Zoom, we will. But I really need to figure out a way to get her on here through OBS, like, because that would be great. And then we just move stuff around. Like, I'd have her over here and then have me here. We just talk. I think that'll be real nice. But I think I have to do something with Discord and having her speak through that. So I'm not sure how I'll make that work, but I'll make it work. Chances are we will use Zoom, but hopefully we can get around that. But she'll be on again on Wednesday, and then usual shows. We have Coral Castle on Tuesday, Bermuda Triangle on Thursday, and I know I said last week we would start doing the Great Lakes Triangle, which I know Zen was looking forward to. It seems most likely we'll do that this Friday, this upcoming Friday. And I was planning on doing it this past Friday, but I had the filming gig. And I could have did it earlier in the day, but like I spend most of the day like getting into that mental state that like I'm going to do a job with helping out with filming and having a client and all that. Like, I need to get into that mental space. So doing something like these deep dives and then hopping on the road to go film something, it's too much for me in one day to do that. Like, I would get overwhelmed. And while I was driving on Friday to the event, I was getting really tired driving. It kind of freaked me out. I've fallen asleep at the wheel before. It was very very scary. And it was from exhaustion. Because I used to work overnight security job. And so during the day I went to a Civil War reenactment that I participated in, and then I was driving home. And I fell asleep at the wheel. I jumped a curb and was starting to drive on a... Like, so the median was so big it had a whole patch of grass. But it had trees in the middle of the median. And somehow I was driving... So, like, I jumped the curb. I messed up both axles on the left side. Both front and back. Both tires got blown to crap. But that jump in the curb woke me up from falling asleep. So when I was driving, I was trying to keep myself awake. I was opening the window, closing the window, putting the shades on, taking the shades off, rubbing my eyes, turning the music up loud, turning it off, turning it on again. I was trying everything to make sure I could get back home. And really, I should have pulled off to the side and taken a nap, which I've done since then. Like, if I get tired and I'm on a road trip or something by myself, like when I was coming back from Texas, that last day, that final stretch going to reach Illinois, I got really tired while I was on the road. So I found a gas station, I parked up, locked the doors, put the AC on, just let the car run, didn't care, and slept for about an hour, hour and a half, and then jumped back on the road. But when I fell asleep that like the time that I actually fell asleep behind the wheel, and it's the only time that's happened. I jumped the median, that woke me up, and then the car's on the grass of this median, and the trees are like right to the left of that. And somehow I didn't hit the trees. And I was able to correct myself and get off of the median, but that also required jumping the curb again back down onto the road. And this was really tall curbs, not the smaller ones. This is like really tall curbs for a median. So it really jacked up that vehicle. It had to get towed. But thankfully, I was okay. And it's surprising because, like, I've been in situations where I'm sitting at a red light at night and two cars collide in an intersection, and then since it was raining too, they slide into me sitting at the corner waiting to turn, and I hit my head on the glass, and that was even worse than me falling asleep behind the wheel, if you can believe that one. But I refused to go to the hospital both times. Me hitting the head on the glass the second time, not a big deal. I probably should have gotten checked out, but it wasn't that bad where, like, things... Like my body wasn't giving me those signals that I need to get myself checked out. I wasn't being... what's the word? I wasn't being prideful, saying like, oh no, I didn't get injured and all that. Like, I bumped my head, but I didn't do so that badly that I need a $1,000 ambulance ride to the hospital just for them to tell me that everything's okay. But yeah, I'm not sure why I started talking about that. I guess just driving out to the event on Friday, this past Friday. So I was starting to feel tired driving there. And so I'm like, I'm not going to let this stuff happen. At least I see these signs now if I get tired. And I went to a Walgreens and picked up 2 C4 Energies. Downed both of them while I continued to drive. Not one right after the other, but I was drinking them pretty quickly. Because I like loading the system with caffeine and then everything's good. But now I have coffee that I try to have every day. I don't like doing the energy drinks anymore. Awesome, Zen. Zen says, oh, no rush. I'll be there. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I think you're talking about the Friday show, the Great Lakes Triangle. Yeah, it's going to be good. I'm really looking forward to it. It's close to home for me. I'm literally not even 20 miles from Lake Michigan. I think it's less than that. I think from here straight to Lake Michigan, going down Dempster, is 10 miles. One of my buddies used to do a run from here to the beach nonstop, and I think that was about 10 miles. Maybe 15 if they took a different route. Like, just depending on what. But anyways, I'm close to the Great Lakes here. And we have, like, I'm also close to O'Hare Airport. Like, I think I'm closer to O'Hare than I am to the lake. So, like, I'm right between the two. O'Hare has all of these sightings of, they call it, like, the Chicago Mothman. Or Batman. They call it the Batman, like the man with wings and stuff. There's a lot out there. Lon Strickler made a book on it. He's a good YouTuber to look up. He has his own website, though, too. But he used to do just radio stuff, and now he's doing video. But, Yeah, I think there's definitely something going on with the Great Lakes and stuff that's underneath the water. Like they said, they found like some. They called it like the Lake Michigan Stonehenge. I don't know if that's going to be in the book that we'll be covering, but I'll bring up these different articles too about the Great Lakes. And I have books of shipwrecks, like up in like Lake Superior. I have a ton of naval books that I picked up from Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It was like leftovers from an estate sale. So I just collect the stuff that interests me, and now here we're diving into all of it. So this year's really been getting into all of these books and this content that like really piques my interest. So I think, yeah, we're near the end here for today. But you see how long all of this takes to talk about? It just, I wish there was an easier way to do all this. But I am playing around with the idea of doing a deep dive series that's not live, where it's more structured, I guess, but also I could show things as I talk about them, which is something that I've been struggling to deal with while I'm live, where I'm like looking stuff up if I find something in the writings that I'm like, oh man, that sounds cool, let's see what that is. I was doing that the other day with the Bermuda Triangle show. We got to look at all these ancient animals, supposedly. So we're just looking stuff up as we go. But if I were to do a show that's not live, that's a deep dive, I'll be doing stuff where I'll be showing myself talking, but then I'll also have something on the other side here that matches up exactly with what I'm talking about as I talk about it. Which as of now, I'm just having slideshows go through, and I have a collection of pictures, and we're looking at those. But it's on a constant loop, so it's not always matched up with what I'm talking about, unless it's a specific thing like the Illuminauts, the submersible for the Bermuda Triangle. So I'm learning as I go here. Like I said, live streaming wasn't something that I really wanted to do at first, but I see the benefits of it now. It just, it takes a while for, especially with me using OBS. I'm trying to be as independent as possible here without having to pay $30-40 for this. It's a money pit when I don't have an audience that I'm expecting. It's like, it's been like this for way too long. It's been too many years. So I can get away with doing I guess as free as you can say if you have an internet connection, you have OBS and a YouTube account, like that's enough. But paying extra for like Restream.io, I'm really holding off on doing that, but I know how much it would benefit me to do a multi-live stream where we're on YouTube and Rumble and TikTok all at the same time, and Facebook Live. And I've been throwing around the idea of Twitch, but that would be more for video gaming, which I haven't done in a long time because everything else is taking up my time. But I am focused on doing all of this content for this channel every week, and I'm committing myself to doing this for another month and a half before taking a break again in July. But it is a lot of work, and I just want you all to know that it's not It may look like it's easy here. I might make it look easy, but there's a lot that goes into all of this, including having a proper mic, making the settings on these cameras work so that I'm not like all blasted out with the light, and even the lights themselves. Just having the lights is important, and the backdrop too. And getting all dressed up for all you fellows out there and gals. Just being presentable. I don't need a tie. I've never really been a tie type of person. This is more like what I wear when I go film gigs for clients. And I did come to a conclusion. I'm going to wrap this up. But I came to a conclusion that filming weddings really killed my drive for like filming for clients, because of like the indecisive nature of the brides. Like, it really varied from wedding to wedding. Sometimes they're just like, yeah, just put together whatever. And ultimately, at the end of the day, it's just friends and family watching these wedding videos. And I want to create stuff that more people can enjoy, such as live shows of musicians. That's going out to a lot more people than just friends and family. There's more longevity there. And so doing this gig on Friday, it re-amplified me. Got my passion back doing that this Friday. I'm excited for people to see what I'm going to produce with the footage I got. And I was thinking about showing some of it here, but I'll wait on that, because I do have to edit some of it together. Let's plan for next week. I'll show a little bit of it, and hopefully I'll remember to do it. I know I also talked about the intros for the new shows, but I want to keep it a surprise. Yeah, Zen, I'll definitely be doing premieres if I do like a pre-edited show. And I'll be hanging out live in the chat, so it'll be very similar. But I won't deviate too far away from what I'm currently doing and the current setup. That's going to continue on because it is working and I'm able to manage it. So, and I see you there, Woo. Thank you. You have a great Sunday too. God bless to all. You know, I ended a show last night. I was on Beyond the Box. I was asked to give a prayer. So I'll say another prayer here for everyone now. Thank you, Father, for today. This is a blessing. I really appreciate the abundance that you have given me, as well as others. Please help us through any difficulties that we may be going through. And just to remember, help us remember that we have the power to create whatever we want to create. We are an extension of you, Father. You are our creator, and we create for you. And those of us that create, we are doing a service to you. And thank you. All right, well, that'll be that for today, guys. So, thank you all for being here. And until the next one, class dismissed.